And welcome to the Ratchetdavo Podcast. This is going to be episode 7 with myself, David, from the Ratchetdavo YouTube channel. And today we have a special guest and my brother, Joe, who I credit some of me getting into the car world to you. But welcome to the podcast.
I'll take that. Thanks. It's great to be finally in here talking to you because it's been a while since you started the podcast. But hey, life is busy. Both of us, so
it is 2021.
Especially you with the YouTube channel and everything. So
we're trying to see what we can do with it, but you've been super supportive of that. And I feel like every other day you're like, dude, check your sub count, or dude, this video blew up or whatever. Honestly, biggest fan, and I appreciate it.
Sometimes I feel like I'm giving you updates on your numbers and stuff. I'm like, you have 100 views on this video you just dropped.
That's so awesome.
Exciting.
But you were in Alaska, now moved down to Florida, so we're actually closer. I'm based in Georgia, so we're actually a lot closer now. But before you moved away to Alaska for a while, we were able to do some car stuff together. But we always kind of have been into cars. And to segue into kind of the beginning of that, you are a huge 944 Porsche guy, or just Porsche guy in general, I guess. But you kind of accredit some of you getting into the Porsche game to the 944s.
Yeah, 100%. I don't really honestly remember my first obsession with Porsche, or at least how that started. But I mean, when we would go to the track, I feel like I would always spot the 911 in the group of the cars and be like, "Oh wow, I'm gonna pull for that one."
That's same with you with GTRs.
Yeah, so you see a GTR and you'd be like, "Oh, I'm definitely pulling for the GTR." So from an early point from us going to the track, I was always kind of honed in on the Porsches. The 944s just kind of. I mean, they call it a poor man's Porsche, and so I kind of tiptoed towards those because I was like, I know I can't pull off getting a 996 or definitely can't pull off the old school 911s now because they're so expensive. So.
I don't know what caused the prices to skyrocket. Besides it kind of being a timeless design, I don't know if the RWB came around and just boosted the prices of those or what.
Yeah, it's crazy how all Porsches, even the 914s, which some of those had a Volkswagen bus engine, and they were just slower than a little red wagon. But the 944 turbo prices have actually gone up, and I think it's at least 50% due to the website Bring a Trailer, this is not a plug for them by any stretch, but
that's very popular. For sale.
There's been some very clean examples gone up on that website and sold for 20, 25 plus grand. And that's crazy. People can use that as kind of a comp to say oh, my 944 turbo is worth 12 now or 15, so yeah. But hey, that's good for me because that means the value of my car is going to stay high. But
yeah, true. But yeah, very interesting. But nowadays, you're still in the 944 game, correct?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and obviously, you did a video on your channel about.
I was about to say car. That. How long ago was that? Now I can't even remember when that was.
That was literally July, the beginning of July.
That's right, when you moved down to Florida again.
I had only been there.
And you just purchased. It was a new purchase to you, and we drove down together. You picked that car up from the 944 barn and up in North Georgia, and we drove down. I was going to vacation, and you trailered your 944 down to it. But so everybody kind of, if people are listening to this and you have not seen the 944 video, I'll link it for you down in the description below this video. If it's in the podcast, I'll also do a link for you to my YouTube channel as well. But if people catch up on that video, assuming that people have watched that video and kind of know where the car was to where it is now, which we haven't been able to really do an update. This would be the first update in 7-8 months on the car. So you've been hard at work for the last, I know what's been going on, but
yeah. I haven't documented really any besides like an occasional Instagram post, I guess, for the progress. But it's definitely been one of the. I guess we'll just I'll do like a quick update on it. I guess I wish I could have gotten more done on the car to say like, oh, it's track ready or but I mean, we're going in a good direction. I've completely overhauled. And when you say overhaul, basically means replaced every component, the clutch, brake, and fuel systems. Powder coated the 18-inch BSA wheels and wrapped them in Federal 595 RS tires.
Nice.
So those are, everything's mounted on the car, all systems bled, fuel system. I mean, literally today, I just got done assembling the fuel rail and getting everything thrown back on the car. So basically I'm just waiting for, I don't have a battery tender here. So I actually had to drop the battery off at the local auto store to get charged. And since it was so dead, it needed like 3+ hours. So I was like, I'll just grab it tomorrow. But interior's been completely stripped and painted. And then the local Porsche shop, which not everybody can say like they have a local Porsche shop, but Smith Motor Works, which is here in Panama City.
Right down the road, right?
They literally 2 miles. They're building a new facility that's a little further away, so they're kind of cleaning house. And the owner is going to hook me up with a bunch of Dave over there at Smith Motor Works. He said he'd hook me up with a bunch of like kind of like secondhand track parts, kind of so like seats, harnesses, harness bar, and a couple other odds and ends are going to be going in the car. So assuming everything as far as like final assembly goes well, then I'll get all those parts installed, and then could be as soon as next month that it sees some sort of event, hopefully. So stay tuned for that.
Nice, dude. That's gonna be sick though. I can't wait. And so injectors, you just got those back, and then first startup, and it's been a while since that car has seen a startup.
Yeah, I mean, the last time, I don't remember if I put the video. I'll somehow try to get the video to you so you could link it, because it's like a 40-second clip. But the last time I did a startup, it was idling, and I kind of like held the throttle open a little bit, and then it ended up backfiring. It sounded like a cannon.
I remember that video.
Yeah, so it ended up backfiring in my garage, scaring me half to death. I was basically I thought that I was gonna have to put out a fire or something.
That's too funny.
But that was the last time I did a startup, and that was probably a couple months ago, because the car, I just started in like 4 or 5 different projects, to where when I got done with one project, I couldn't try to start it up because I was still waiting for something else.
Yeah.
So
dang,
it's getting there.
Oh man, projects.
Yeah, projects.
Yeah,
they're fun.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to like that first, hopefully clean startup with the new injectors and everything flushed and refreshed, and that would be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Barring something that I just completely don't know about, which is possible, I guess. I feel like it should start up and run actually really clean.
Well, the fact that it did run before, it gives an indication it's going to run.
It drove onto the trailer in July.
Right. And it's going to run. It just depends on, is what I did it fix the issues that were causing it to not to run smoothly, or now you're going to know if there's another thing that needs to be addressed, but that's the money pit that gets created, and that's how cars become a money pit.
Yeah. Especially old Porsches, because then you start talking about like wiring stuff and ECU issues, and then that's when you can easily throw like $1,000, $1,500 at it just to troubleshoot. Yeah, so
all day long. I've been there, done that. 300ZXs have cost me a lot of money.
I'm so happy that people have enjoyed your 300ZX videos, because that car was so fun to it was fun to drive, and then fun to listen to as well. But
I absolutely, we both have cars that we regret selling, and that was like the one that I regret selling for sure. I just like you're going through every part and system of the 944. I bought the 300ZX and went through every single piece of that car. And the funny thing was, on that building the 300ZX video I did, I had a lot of people that I guess genuinely just didn't watch the video or didn't understand how much time and effort I put into that car. I guess you could call like haters, and they just didn't understand. I'm like, just because on the outside it doesn't look like a crazy wide bodied whatever car, I was like, doesn't mean that I haven't touched every component of the car, because it was every bit of a track car any other car was, because I put in the time and effort into making it that way, you know?
So, well, I mean, honestly, I feel like it was literally a roll cage or a roll bar away from being,
full dedicated
global time attack street class legal car, easily.
Yeah, it definitely was like the rear half of the interior was already gutted. So like I was literally, if I'd put a half cage in there, like I would have been even that much closer. So it was just that car. I don't even know if I could really call it a money pit, because like, although let's just say I think I bought it for like 3,200, sold it for 3,800, but I had put so much time and money and parts into it, I never would have got back. I think that's a lot of people. You never get back what you truly pay on the car.
Oh, that's talk about regretting cars. And I'm sitting here looking at my list of all the cars I've ever owned. And one of those cars was an 84 944. And that car I had put so much money into that I never would have gotten,
no, you just,
I would have never gotten
the fair market value breaks your heart, because you can see, you're looking at your car and you're like, I've put 10 grand into this car that's worth 2 grand on the internet value. It's just, it is what it is. You gotta, that's the price you pay when you want to start modifying stuff. But dude, total side note, I was driving down the road, not 10 miles from my house. I looked to the right at this random used tire shop. There's a red slick top 300ZX sitting, slick top, not T-top, sitting.
Ooh, okay.
And it looks like it was missing a fender or two. So it's probably been sitting there a while, and I just have never noticed it. And I just looked to my right, and then Dana was,
she was like, eyes on the road.
I was like, can I please rescue that car? I was like, that is a slick top and it's super hard to find. And I was just like,
and it was the red too, which was the color of the very first 300ZX you ever laid eyes on.
That is, oh yeah, that is true.
Not to make that decision any harder for you.
That just got rough.
I feel your pain.
The thing is though, like, I probably speak for you too, but even when I don't have the money to buy another car, I see one and I still go inquire about it and go talk to somebody about it all day long.
It's so funny you say that, because literally this morning,
I knew it. See, I knew it.
Literally this morning, we drove by. We were heading home from running an errand this morning, and we drove by the Ford dealership, and there was a nitrous blue RS sitting right out front, and they had just put it there, because I've never seen it. This place is like a half mile from my house, drive by every day. The guy's out there like on his little notepad doing his final notes, and I was like, oh my gosh, there it is. And Kayla was just like, not a chance.
Like, that car was pretty sick though. That car was pretty sick. But
I'm just grateful for that whole experience that I had with the car, from ordering it, and all those came over from Germany. So
that's crazy that technically you've imported a car.
Yeah.
Technically you bought an imported car.
The dealership paid for all the import fees, and it came in already US legal and everything. But I guess technically I have. That's it kind of feels like cheating because I got it from a dealership, but
no, but that's how all importers do it. If I went to go get a twin turbo Z32 right now from an importer down in Florida, they've already done all the importing and it's for sale on their site. Yep. So it's the same exact thing. They're a car dealership.
That's true.
For foreign cars, so it's the same way, which I possibly inquire about imported cars every once in a while too, because or at least
Are
look
they,
at I go to JDM Classics on Instagram and I just look at what they have on there. But
twin turbo Fairlady Z's?
I mean, ultimately a right-hand drive twin turbo 300ZX is on the
As like
list of cars I want to buy at some point.
Now,
in my lifetime.
would that be a car that you like take to the track and like, or is that something that would be like a garage queen and like you kind of like
Go out to like
tastefully
Caffeine and
modded,
Octane or
yeah,
something? Yeah,
and just
I don't
like
know. I
drive
mean,
through the mountains? It
yeah,
almost seems like a car that would be more fun to like keep
go to
it
events.
pristine. You know, don't take a hacksaw to any fenders. And just
No,
like
I would rather take that slick top down the road that's already like a piece of garbage and then turn it in, just like my white one. Honestly, my white one was in pretty terrible condition when I got it, and I turned that one into the track car it was. So I would probably do the same thing, just because I like to have the freedom. I have some sort of conscience about like preserving cars that are worth preserving and not cutting up fenders. Like I'm not what's the word I'm looking for I'm not like true to Nissan. I don't know why I'm
what's the word on that? Basically, where you're basically a purist. You're not
purist. Yeah. I was looking for that word. I'm not like a purist, because if you looked at my old Z32, I cut the fenders and put flares on the back and cut the front fenders and pulled them. And so like I'm not a purist, and that breaks a purist's heart to see like a stock body car cut up. But because I like being creative about like everything, like cars, like I like to express what my vision is for a car, and I don't like being held back by the purist mindset. But that being said, I also, if I got a JDM right-hand drive car, I most likely would not chop it up. Like I just it would hurt my heart. So I guess I could say I'm part purist in that way.
Yeah, and I think you probably would be motivated not to chop it up, because then it would hurt the value of the car. And those are, if you buy one of those true JDM right-hand drive, it's probably going to be pricey. Like those cars are the values of those cars are starting to go up too. You know, like I think I just saw online some guy sold his R33 GTST, not GTR, for I think it was like 38 grand. Now it was highly modified, but it was still a GTST. And I was like, wow, that's almost 40 grand for, like, you used to pay 40 grand for a Mark IV Supra.
Yeah. So, now Mark IV Supers are like 50 plus grand up to 100 grand, just like R34s. I don't know. It just skyrocketed. I think the demand, as the demand goes up, the prices go up, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, I guess there's fewer and fewer numbers of them driving on the road. Because people wreck them and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, even though it's like, I don't know.
I mean, segues right into like, I remember one of those times we were at the track that was it a R34 or 3, the midnight purple one that flipped on the front straight at Road Atlanta?
I think that was the R32. I can't remember.
Okay.
So obviously the famous turn 12, which is you've taken it on track day. I haven't done an official track day there, but I've ridden that course many a time.
It's one of those corners you actually have to lift momentarily because of that bump.
Yeah. But I don't know. I remember seeing videos of that, and I remember hearing it because we were in the paddock. And was that your track day that was? Or were we just there for a NASA day? I can't remember.
I tell you what, that might have been one of the NASA days that we were there just to work.
Volunteering?
Remember, because we volunteered so we could get the track credits.
Yeah. Back when they did. I don't know if they still do that or not.
I don't even know if they do anymore.
Yeah. No, but I do remember we were in paddock or somewhere, and we heard just like you hear what the tires first. You always hear the tires, and that's what everybody turns because they're waiting on the impact. Yeah. You hear, and that's not a noise you should be hearing on a
not
track. You're like, oh, and then all of a sudden we heard it, and you go over and you just see this car that's in pieces that was a midnight purple R32.
I remember it being a beautiful, beautiful car. It was right-hand drive. It was it was a nice, ready single exit exhaust, sounded amazing.
Yeah, it was like it was a full track car, R32, and I remember after that, the chatter around the track about it was like, oh, his wife told him not to go to the track this weekend. That's the karma that he gets or something. I was like,
yeah, that's
I was like, the drama that was created, just people always have a response to everything. It's just so funny.
People always have a story to gossip about.
All the gossip at the track, so funny. But no, I do remember that turn 12. The crazy part about, when you're in a lower horsepower car at a certain track, like I did Barber, and then I just did the linear track day across the street from Road Atlanta. But when I did the ride alongs at Road Atlanta, specifically in the R35, that I think we hit over 175 on the back straight.
Good Lord.
But the hill, cresting the hill towards turn 12, you don't realize in a low horsepower car because you're not going fast enough, but you lose traction at the very crest of that hill because that car was fast enough that you heard he was going, it was, whoa, and you feel the car jet out because he's almost like taking a jump, and there's a little bit of traction loss at the top. And I talked to him about it afterwards. I was like, never have I felt that in any car before. He's like, yeah, you have to have something this fast and aggressive to be able to feel,
and all-wheel drive,
to feel that bump at the top. You wouldn't even know it's there. Like in my 300ZX or in your 944, you wouldn't know it because not. It's not a jet plane like a freaking Alpha GTR is. It's like.
I was never, that 944 probably had 140 horsepower on a nice day. So I wasn't getting any air.
No, but it was crazy how like I had a new perspective on like, oh wow, this is what driving a supercar requires, is all of a sudden the track that you thought you knew, you have to relearn everything as you go up in levels in class. It's like,
that's a good point. True. Because a one turn that you think, oh, that's a pretty mild turn, but
maybe at 30
65 through it versus 85, like turn different. 5, and some people, I guess this will be like Chinese, but turn 5 at Road Atlanta is like it's a super aggressive turn that a lot of people try to pass on the exit of.
Yeah,
but
that is where a lot of cars pass.
I never went fast enough to where I felt like I could ever pass anybody. I got passed a lot, but I would get a lot of point buys. But that's a turn that if you're cooking through there, I'm sure you could be doing 80, 75, maybe 80 miles an hour.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'd have to go back and play like Forza and feel that track out again just to. But it's almost like it's almost like when you're in Forza and you're in the Spec Miata and you go through the track. You're like, oh, that was pretty easy, and then you jump in a completely different car and you go into turn 1 and you hit the wall and you're like, what? I just raced this track like for an hour, but it's a totally different car. You have to relearn your braking zones and where you apex, and so it's such an interesting challenge, I guess.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back on track because it's honestly been a hot minute. I mean, it's literally been
for me too.
It's been 5 years since I've even been back on track. So it's
yeah. And RIP to my 370 for now, but I probably would be on the same track record as you, but different calling in life for this year for me, and track days are not in my near future.
I mean, life changes. You kind of have to
go with it.
I guess the cliche phrase, like roll with the punches, I guess. But I mean, you did have the 3. I mean, on your YouTube channel, you've kind of like logged the entire 370 LS swap that was going to be the time attack car.
Yeah.
And you have to go a different direction.
Which that's not the first time that I've wanted to LS swap a car or V8 swap a car. I actually, with the white slick top, I don't know if you remember, but I bought a VH 45 out of an Infinity, the V8 Infinity motor, and was going to swap that car originally, and that was going to be my V8 track car. But I looked at that motor and I got lucky. I sold that motor and that swap kit to another 300ZX buddy of mine. and he had to rebuild that entire motor because the bearings were no good in that motor. So I actually kind of feel like and that's like a Infinity V8, not a LS, so it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, dodge the bullet probably.
Yeah, because that's a dual overhead cam V8, not just a single cam LS motor. So it's a whole different beast with timing chains and the whole nine.
I do feel like if you're gonna have a dedicated track car, that you're going to have for a couple of years, I feel like you will eventually have to do an engine rebuild, like basically full overhaul.
You don't want to be that. Well, you don't want to be boring. I did a ride along with a guy that I thought it was going to be super exciting, but he had like a boosted 350Z. And I asked him, I was walking through the paddock with my helmet. I'm like, hey, can I do a ride along? He was like, yeah, come on in. And I think he stayed in third gear for 95% of Road Atlanta. Like, no lie, he just stayed in third gear the whole time. Like, he didn't rev up his motor, like anything. And then at the end, he's like, yeah, I just try to drive, reserved because I don't want to have to rebuild my motor a bunch and do all this. So, like, part of me was like, I understand it, but the other part of me
just put tons of work into that thing to get it running.
The other part of me was like, that's a boring way to live, because on the track, you know me, like, I'm going to go all out. I will say that, but I didn't go 100% all out when I had my 300. I would shift short of redline to preserve my motor, but I also I was still going through the gears and everything. I wasn't that guy that was like, oh, I'm just going to stay in third gear and point by everybody.
I definitely think it's a big difference too if you drive your car to the track versus trailering your car to the track.
That's true.
Because, I mean, I'm never going to drive this 944 turbo to the track. I'm going to trailer it. So I'm going to be probably
a little more aggressive, because you just push
a little more aggressive, and knowing that I can just get the rollback and just take me back to the paddock and winch it on the trailer and go home and fix it
and do it again. Yeah, that's a more fun process to me than being worried about blowing the motor. But that's also, I think, why I don't know, cheaper cars are more exciting than expensive cars to race, because it's cheaper to fix.
Yeah,
when it breaks. But
100% agree with that one.
yeah, it's like I can't imagine these people that blow up their GT350 motor or something,
gosh,
and, it's like, oh god, that's a $10,000 bill right there. It's like, it's literally
at a bare minimum, I would think.
So, but I don't know, lots of track days I hope for my future, but for now I'm building a truck. Not building a truck. It's restoring.
Yeah, I think you're restoring it. Yeah.
Restoring.
You can keep the 350 in it.
Yeah, I'm not going to build that truck just because I don't want it to become a money pit that I can't get myself out of. I'm really excited about it. It's a very cool, unique Z71 step-side Silverado, very desired body style for the truck world.
But it's definitely not it's not like one of those things, like sometimes you see these bigger YouTube channels, they're like, oh, doing a frame off restoration 67 F100, it's like it's not a $50,000 budget.
No, it's not,
build, but it's still a cool, those were cool trucks. I mean, they're still,
the more
daily drivers.
The more I'm like looking through different pages that do lowering or whatever, there's a huge following behind what they call the OBS, the old body style trucks, and people lower them and do all sorts of nuts things.
Would you Google bagged OBS?
Among other things. But bagged, no, I mean, yeah, the nice part about that truck is that it was given to me as kind of like a gift almost. And so it's kind of, honestly, while I don't have another car or can't afford to buy anything as of right now, it's a cheaper way for me to keep content going for my YouTube channel, as well as by the end of it, maybe have a running, driving, kind of lowered looking show truck that I can just roll out to meets with for now. There's something fun, but it kind of is dangerously pivoting on the fence of becoming a money pit, because I started taking it apart, and the more things I realized needed to be replaced. It hasn't run in 8 years.
Oh, wow. So I saw that you. Well, I don't want to give away information for the channel, so I'll
I haven't released anything but the first episode of the series that I've started.
Some cool stuff. There's some cool stuff headed to the channel with that car, with that truck.
I did reveal on my Instagram that I had to pull the fuel tank out of the truck. And I'll go into more detail about that. I'm actually editing a video right after this, but it has to get a new fuel tank because it's so corroded. It's an old metal fuel tank that it wasn't running whatsoever because of the fuel system. So I was starting to fix it, and the video that's coming out tomorrow will go into more detail about that. But my ultimate goal for the truck, honestly, is to spend it if it's running by the end of this week, which I won't give away too many spoilers. If it ends up running by the end of this week, it'll go back to my house and I'll clean it up and lower it. But I'm gonna do the like cheap man's lowering, like cut springs and the whole nine. Yeah. Like I'm not about to buy a $500 suspension kit for this truck. Like no way. So, and if I can just lower it and then whatever, I'm just gonna cruise out actually. They're pretty sick.
How obsessed I am with like exhaust notes, but that 350 and those Chevys,
it's a big motor.
I forget what the setup, whether it's like Flowmaster with glass packs or something.
Yeah,
those things sound pretty good actually.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the old Pep Boys special exhaust system.
Oh gosh.
But I'm gonna go for like almost like a Ford Lightning side pipe look out the passenger side. Instead of two tips on the side, it's just gonna be 1 3-inch pipe that comes and jets out right by that tire.
I love a good side pipe. I mean, I had the V10 Dodge 2500 in Alaska.
Oh yeah,
that was
that's right.
True side pipe. 8 liters of straight pipe. Goodness.
That's such a Alaskan vehicle too.
It really, that's everybody tells that.
Can you find a V10 truck anywhere else? Probably not.
No, I mean,
that truck is made for like just driving through like 10-foot wall of snow and then just continuing forward.
It was actually really good in the snow, but it was the cold. The craziest thing was like, it wasn't a diesel. So like, it didn't really have trouble starting in the cold, but the cold start was so aggressive. Like I would start it about 20 feet from the house and like, I could feel the floor shaking when I would let it warm up in the morning, knowing that there's no way Kayla's still asleep. The dogs are just like staring at me like, please leave.
Yeah. Crazy enough. Because we're having a baby, I just took the muffler off today, actually. The muffler off of my Ram and put the stock muffler back in so that I have quiet cold starts in the morning so I don't wake up the baby.
That's probably a good call. Yeah.
Just because if I get this 1500 running, it's going to be loud, but it's going to be fun, but it's going to be a weekend truck that I go out and drive because I have nothing else at the moment. So
yeah. Hey, projects are always fun no matter what. Like it honestly doesn't matter. Like
I've been covered in dirt for the past 2 days working on it, like out in the countryside of Georgia. But I've had a blast taking that thing. It is therapy. Punching the side of a truck
blaster on a seized bolt and just going it down.
Yeah, I don't know how many curse words came out of my mouth yesterday, but it was a lot of curse words. I was so mad at that truck.
I feel your pain there because I feel like these past couple things I've had to do on the Porsche to wrap it up there's a couple broken things in the garage, just to say that.
Oh no, I totally understand. It's when you're pushing on the wrench or ratchet and you're just like, and then it breaks and you think you broke it loose, but you broke it off.
Yeah.
Many a time.
I think I ended up calling you like after like a night of just utter frustration with something. Was it the clutch? I think I had just broke the clutch hard line in half. And I was not wanting, which ended up, it was crazy. Like, I mean, you wouldn't think like a clutch system, like hardline would be that expensive, but the clutch hardline that I needed was $120. Just the hardline.
So you had to spend $120?
I had to. I literally couldn't find it anywhere else. Like it was a very specific piece that went from the clutch master cylinder all the way down to the slave cylinder, and that like very specific hard line was $120. So I was like, I literally, the car is not gonna be able to drive it without that. So I guess I have to get it. So
yeah.
Love to spend that 120 on like performance parts, but I'm like, you know what?
Well, it's just unexpected.
First.
Yeah, unexpected things are what makes it such a money pit, I think. Like the fuel tank. I thought it was just gonna be a fuel pump. And then I saw inside the tank and I'm like, oh God, I can't put a new fuel pump inside a nasty, crusty tank. Like I would be defeating the purpose of what I'm doing. So it's like, add a fuel tank to the bill, you know? And then it's like,
golly, that so can't be cheap either.
Actually, shockingly was pretty. It's already ordered. It was actually only like $90 on rockauto.com.
Holy cow. Oh my gosh. Dude, I miss having
it's a Chevrolet, bro. It's like,
that's true.
The 350 and those trucks were like probably the most popular trucks in the 90s. All those 1500s, like the old body style boxy Chevrolets. So I've had a blast, honestly, working on it. And like the truck community, I will say this. I run multiple Instagram pages. I have my Ratchetdavo one, and then I have a Ram 1500 truck page. The truck community seems very much more forgiving than the car community for some reason. I don't know why that is, but like you could start a car page and no one would want to follow you or anything. I've had my truck page and like it has just skyrocketed like over time. I don't understand it.
I think and you have a Dodge page as well. Is it like
it's called Ram 1500 Classic on Instagram, and where I do a lot of reposting. That might be part of the reason people follow. But
it's kind of weird though, like not to throw shade at any specific group, but like I do feel like I'm like a hardcore Dodge lover as far as trucks go. I think I've had 4 or 5 now. I've had 4 or 5 second gens.
You've definitely yeah. Well, I also had a second gen. I had a 94.
I mean, I was just telling you that like today I was out working on the Porsche in the garage and 2 guys drove by the house and like slammed on the brakes and like got out and wanted to look at my second gen Cummins. And then we talked for like 10 or 15 minutes about it. And he was just like, oh, if you ever want to sell it, I live right there. And I was like, whoa, I just got this like 3 months ago.
I don't know what it's like right now at this. Yeah. I don't know what it is, right? Like, I don't have the ability to walk up to somebody and be like, hey, if you're selling that, just give me a call first. But I would love to get to a place in my life where I can just tell people that, because I have a nest egg of money. I don't know where these people have this money, but they're like, hey, just give me a call when you're ready to sell or whatever. I don't understand. I've never been that person before without like actively looking to buy a car.
I feel like I wish I had the self-control to like hold on to like a pile of money long enough to like wait and just like eventually drive by someone's house and see exactly what I've been waiting on my entire life to just be there, and I just have the money, but I just see projects and go for it. Like I remember, and I might have covered this in the first YouTube video about the Porsche, but I actually bought that when I was road tripping down from Alaska, and I had my eye on it, and then I just ended up pulling the trigger.
Yeah. Now that's a cool road trip that you took. That's probably one of the, as far as North America goes, that's probably one of the longest road trips you could take.
Yeah. Alaska to Florida is no joke. I think we did it in 11 or 12 days, which is pretty quick. We had some long driving days, over 5,000 miles. So it was a really cool trip. Wish we could have got to do more, but COVID and everything kept some of the cooler attractions limited.
Yeah, I know y'all had kind of planned to be more scenic route about that trip, but it ended up kind of being business only, get from A to B.
Yeah, we did the longest driving day, which was the most brutal, was Jackson Hole, Wyoming to basically Omaha, Nebraska, and it was 17 hours straight.
Yeah, but there was nothing in between that.
And there's nothing cool to stop in between. And you're like, I really want to make it this KOA because that makes the next day's driving day a little bit easier. So,
man, it's like, yeah, I wish. Yeah, I feel like you could have enjoyed that more if you didn't have to worry about like checking in for work so soon at another place or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like at least for the last 4 or 5 years for both of us, life has just been like go, 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 and like never freaking stopping. I don't know what it is about like how life has been so crazy, but work combined with like trying to do personal projects and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it honestly, that time that I was in Alaska for over 3 years, it seemed like forever, but it also went by really quick. But it was one of those things I was bummed because the backstory is I got orders to go get stationed in Alaska. I didn't take the Focus RS with me because it was basically brand new. It had 8,000 miles on it. I was like, I'm just going to leave it in the lower 48. And then when I come home on leave and stuff, I'll have a car to drive, won't have to rent anything. And then to make a long story short, I ended up, because it was just sitting there and it was costing me money, I was like, you know what, I probably, even though I waited for 6 months to a year to get this car, I'm just going to sell it, which ended up being a great call because they had that massive head gasket failure that dropped the value of those cars a lot. So ended up selling, because I think you didn't, because I was in Alaska and you were back in Georgia, and you ended up taking that for a couple of joyrides before I ended up selling it.
So I
want to hear a story that I've never heard.
All right. Well, so I did wash it. Okay. I put it in quote unquote, but I told you I was going to take it out and wash it before it was sold for you. So I did do that. I washed it, of course, but I decided to go for the air dry instead of the classic rag.
Oh, I'm sure. I honestly, I mean, I don't own the car anymore, so I hope you had your fun and hit a nice back road and
I did do sport mode. I did do the launch control at least once.
Oh, you have to do the launch control. I probably did the launch control 100 times while I owned it.
Honestly, for the best that it's gone. For the best. So nothing happened. No, I did one hot lap and then brought it in and parked it in the garage. And then I think it was sold that week or whatever. I washed it. It was sold.
Oh, yeah. It sold pretty quick.
Did you make money on it or did you just get it paid off basically?
I made like $1,500. Which isn't bad, but for a car
that technically
$35,000 for, that's not that much.
Yeah, but were you in upside down on that car or no, you weren't in upside down?
No, I ended up making, so I sold it and then I took home $1,500.
Well, you sold private party. You didn't try to trade or sell to a dealership. So because dealerships lowball the crap out of you.
It was an older gentleman out of Atlanta that was waiting on his Cayman GT4 to be delivered, and he wanted something to drive for a few months while he waited on that. So
okay, guy.
Only did.
Okay, what a rich flex.
It was a huge flex.
That's a huge flex. I'm waiting on my GT4, but okay, I guess this shitty car. I'll take
grab this Focus around.
Yeah,
it was still a Focus. I hate that.
Well,
that car was reviewed on by that dude in blue on his
I'll link that review in the description to my video as well. Yeah, David Patterson did do a car review on that one, which is awesome. Which we've had actually quite a few running-ins with David Patterson over the I guess before you left for Alaska 4 years ago or so. Well, 4 years ago. Because the gender reveal was about 4 years ago. The gender
reveal,
yeah. Which I put a clip of that gender reveal video in my 300ZX video because David Patterson and me actually talked about my car for 5 minutes or so on video, which I thought was hilarious. I was like, I guess that'll be my
cool plug.
Yeah, I guess that'll be my plug for David Patterson. But yeah, no, you got that car review done, and then he did the gender reveal, and then I ran into him at Grid Life, and then I ran into him somewhere else, and I can't remember. But I actually tried reaching out to him to get him to come on the podcast, but I have not yet heard back from him on doing a podcast episode yet. So I don't think I ever had his personal cell number If I did, I don't have it anymore. So I've tried to reach out to him through like Facebook and Instagram messaging, but I know that most people that hit that 1 million mark or so, it's almost impossible to get through all the messages.
I remember when I originally reached out to him and said, "Hey, I just bought a Focus RS. Do you want to do a review on it on your channel?" I remember him getting back to me fairly quickly, but I think it was email, not like just texting. So I don't even think I have his number either, but
yeah. I'm sure he tries to sift through messages, but I know that people that have 1 million followers or subscribers, you have to get hundreds of messages a day. So you probably just don't even look at, I don't think I'd be able to look through messages because it'd be overwhelming. It's like, I'll never read all of them, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll ever hit, I'd like to set good goals, but 1 million subscribers on my channel is not a goal I've set yet because I'm just trying to hit the 1,000 mark, so it's just like, it's a different kind of goals for now. But
I mean, like I've been saying, I feel like you're seeing growth, which as long as you're moving in that right direction and you're putting out amazing content, honestly, it's going to keep growing,
Yeah, I'm definitely trying. So do you have a track day planned already, a next track day? Or
well, so being out in Florida, the closest track to me is New Orleans Motorsports Park. They have an event,
very flat.
They have an event next month. I don't know if I'm going to make that one or not. I think what I wanted to do is just a test and tune kind of shakedown event at an autocross event, just something that's going to be, to where there's no walls to hit or anything like that. I can crush a cone or two if something happens. Not the end of the world, but I need to do a shakedown. It's a highly modified 944 turbo, so I'm probably going to have some things that need to be tweaked. It's manual boost controller, stock, slightly modified stock ECU. So I'm probably going to have some gremlins that I got to work out. So the goal is next month autocross in like Pensacola, and then just go from there. If everything seems to be pretty good and not have any issues, then probably shoot for a track day in the spring.
Me and my newborn son, who should be here by then, we'll try to get you on live. So do Facebook Live. We'll watch. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be your pit crew that event just because of the newborn. So
I definitely will be trailering it there, just in case. But
U-Haul special.
As far as actual track days, I would love to do just a kind of like a J-Zilla or a Just Track It as kind of like the next step to getting on track with the car, because that's when you really need to start doing suspension setups. So I've got Coney adjustables up front, and then I'm gonna eventually be upgrading the sway bars. So I definitely want to, when I start getting on track, I'll need to probably need your help with that too eventually.
Yeah.
Got some more experience, so it's kind of like on the go adjustments.
A little setup. Yeah, definitely. I think if I remember correctly, the rear, do you have coilover in the rear, or is it spring and shock separate in the rear?
Right now, it's just Bilstein shocks. I actually don't have a spring set up in the rear.
Nope.
So
no springs in the rear?
No, it's literally just Bilstein shocks in the rear.
Really? What?
Yeah.
I've never. Okay.
So that's something that needs to be upgraded before I get on track, is to throw a coilover setup in the rear. So
dogs.
The dogs take turn barking.
That's awesome. I don't foresee a track day in my close future unless I pay for some seat time. So I might pay you for some seat time once we work out your car's gremlins.
Well, that's what I was saying. If I end up, if I can get the car in a comfortable place and to where it's running consistently. I'll probably end up trying to do Road Atlanta because number one, that's my home track. That's what I'm most familiar with, comfortable with. Then that's probably what I'm going to try to shoot for this summer, is to do an actual track event.
Yeah.
So we'll see, and hopefully I can get some updated pictures, because the body of the Porsche has changed a little bit with a front splitter slash lip. It's not really like one of those huge aero upgrades by any stretch, but
Right.
And it has a upgraded nose panel that has basically some slots in it for increased airflow through the intercooler.
Yeah.
So, and then I ended up doing some weird weight reduction on the car, which has been fun, but also like, was that truly necessary? So like the wheel well, I guess, covers, you could say, like basically it's like the piece of plastic that's inside the wheel well that like protects your brake lines and fuel lines.
Yeah.
I ended up pulling all those out, and then there's some weird dust covers on the hubs that I ended up pulling out.
Yeah.
Doesn't have any under trays or anything like that. The heater system has been, I remember telling you about that.
Yeah.
I removed the entire heater system out of the car too.
Yeah. I remember the Z32, there was nothing extra in that car whatsoever. It was like not even power steering. Like the only pulley that was connected to the the main pulley was the alternator, and that was it. And so I had like lightweight pulleys, and like I remember shockingly enough, the Z32s came with a mechanical fan, which caused for a lot of parasitic drain, basically sucking power out of the rotating assembly. But
right.
I pulled that off, which was connected to the water pump. That was the other pulley. And now that I remember, it was alternator, water pump, and crankshaft,
okay.
but and harmonic balancer. But I remember I pulled the fan off, the mechanical fan, and I was going to install an electric fan for the radiator, and I never did, because as long as the car was running, it would never. As long as you would keep it revved up a little bit, it never overheated. Even my track day, I went to Barber, and I did not have any fans in that car at all.
Holy cow.
Had zero overheating issues. Overheating issues.
Yeah. The old 944, I remember those
totally different story. Yes.
were wired into, so basically as soon as you turn the AC on, it would click on the fans. And so I'd have to do 2 or 3 laps at Road Atlanta, and then I'd have to click on the fans and do a cool down lap, and then cut it off and go again.
No, I ended up, to manage the heat from under the hood, what I ended up doing is, there's a huge opening at the front of the front bumper I had on my car. And once it hit the radiator, I cut a slit in the hood, a vent in the top of the hood, right past the radiator. So all the hot air went directly out the hood. And for some reason that worked like gold. Like all the heat got ventilated out of the hood. And I don't know why, but I had zero overheating issues with that car.
That's crazy. And you were driving it fairly hard.
I think I did. It was fairly hard. I did like 6 or 7 sessions that day that were all half an hour
at Barber.
Or so at Barber. Dang. So, which I think is a 2 mile, not even right under 2 mile track, I think. So, but I mean, it worked, but ultimately I think a fan would have been necessary. It was kind of a cooler day. It was December, so it was like a cooler day in Alabama.
Oh, that probably helped you out.
It definitely helped me out, and it was raining, so like I really didn't have anything to worry about. But I assume if it had been a hot Georgia summer day at Road Atlanta, I probably would have run into overheating issues, and a fan would have been necessary, just because
absolutely.
I wasn't running it in the paddock, or at the hot pits, because I was waiting. Once they gave me the go ahead to go out, then I would start it up and go.
Yeah,
for the most part. But yeah, I mean, some things just work, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But oh man, well, I don't know if I just wrote down if we wanted to share any stories that we we experienced, which I think we both bought and sold. I don't even know. I think I put on my list maybe 25. I can check.
Yeah, I wrote down basically all the cars I've owned, and I guess to some people it's not a lot. Like my buddy Elliot, I think from 944 Barn, he's had over 100 944s or something crazy, but that's his full-time job. But yeah, my list is literally takes up almost an entire piece of paper, all the cars.
Yeah, this one's mine right here.
There you go. That's
so, but I have 25,
probably 50 cars between both of us.
Yeah, I have 25 listed on here, including the Silverado project that I'm working on now. Also including the 01 Civic that I did the fix and flip series on as well.
Yep.
Although I floated the title on that, I'm kind of including it because I did have possession of the car.
I definitely think you can include that one in there.
Basically, the rules are because nobody knows, but we have, I guess, a friendly competition between the guys in our family and extended family. Yeah. We just keep a list of how many cars we had, but not included in the list is parts cars. And you had to have owned the vehicle. I think normally having a clean title in hand or something not clean title, but a title in hand.
Just a title, yeah. Well, I think you're in the lead. I know John's over 20 and TJ's over 20, but you have the most. I think you're up there.
Yeah, but I have like 2 or 3 parts cars in my list of 25 that I would have to cut off the list. But that's just a master list of how many cars I've had in my possession, running or non-running, including motorcycles, which they count, I guess, because I've had I think 4 motorcycles. Yeah. But that I think I scratched that itch enough. I don't really have the desire to get another motorcycle, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm pretty much straight cars at this point.
I do feel like there is a certain thrill that comes with bikes, and so I predict at some point it'll come back around, and you'll be like, "Oh, I really kind of want,
maybe if I just had money to,
a cruiser or something like that."
But. Yeah, I mean, I fixed up a friend's Honda Shadow and drove that around for a couple of weeks, but I don't know. I did it, I did the fast, dangerous thing, and then a couple wrecks happened that I witnessed and was involved in, and I think that did it for me. I was like, You know what? Car versus bike, you're gonna lose.
I've literally wrecked 3 mopeds in my life, so I'm like, that's just a moped. Put me on a 600 or greater cc sport bike. Who knows? I would probably be dead in a week.
I just remember the first time I had that old 95 600 Yamaha.
Oh my
gosh. That was a piece of garbage.
Is that the one that sprayed oil onto the back tire?
Yeah. The cover, it had been laid down and the cover was leaking oil and it was spitting on the rear tire. So it was a little slick back there.
I was terrified, honestly. Every time you left my house and I was standing in the driveway and I'd hear you go through top out all the first 4 gears, it just I'm just waiting to hear some terrible noise.
I eventually did fix the oil leak, to be fair.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember the first time I got on one of the highways on the way home from work, and I'm just gonna punch it, and that's when the front tire floated into the air a little bit, and I was just like, oh crap, I didn't realize what I had. But that was my first bike, so bikes are just, obviously cars are my true passion. Bikes were just kind of a side thing. I don't know really where it kicked up or why. I think I just had the desire to ride fast and say I had a bike. I don't know. So, but and then I've had 4 or 5 of them. So I don't know. I just I do go back and forth, but ultimately I always come back to cars as something I would rather put my money into rather than bikes. That's just me.
Yeah.
So that's just truly who I am, I guess.
Yeah. Right there with you, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to wrap this episode up. Thank y'all for listening, Joe. I think we'll try to make this a more consistent thing now that it took us a minute to get the Zoom thing and figure out what was the best program to use.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm 6 hours away. Otherwise I would have come up there and done like an in-person thing, but I'm sure we'll do it again. And it's been fun. Thanks for having me on here.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate it.